today, hope in positive action. Hope in positive action. Our guest speaker was nurtured in the Ondo Kingdom, where he began his adult life as a direct descendant of Oshomowe Odunola, grandson of Oshomowe Lamele, and direct descendants of Alaafin Onigbogi and Alaafin Shango of Oyo-Ile and Ilempe. He was born in 1972 and is also a descendant of the Etsu of Nupe and the Oba of Benin. Completed his secondary and primary school in Ondo, and then went to the Obafemi Awolowo University, where he graduated in honors in law. Called to the Nigerian Bar in the year 2000 and returned to Lagos after his NYC in Kogi State. He joined the law firm of Mr. Tunji Abayomi. He did a Master's of Law at the University of Jos and then was active in the Nigerian Labour Congress as a comrade. He started his own law firm where he's the principal solicitor. He's also licensed in California, New York, and has substantial law practice experience in the UK, Europe, and Australia, I beg your pardon, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of Nigeria. Passionate son of the soil, he has been chairman of various agri projects, chairman of phytochemical producers of drugs for sickle cell anemia, chairman of the African Dialogue Mission, appointed United States Nations Organization and ECOWAS as a commissioner for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Liberia. He's now also running for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he was recognized by the Ondo State government as an indigene who pays the highest personal income tax to the Ondo State government. Please welcome with me Prince Adewole Adebayo. Prince Adewole Adebayo, you are most welcome to the program in Jesus' name. We are going to be talking about Nigeria, hope in positive action. Hope in positive action. Prince Adebayo, you can unmute yourself, and if I have not introduced you well enough, you can tell us a bit more about yourself. And then my first question to you will be, why have you decided to go into politics? You're welcome. You need to unmute yourself. Mr. Adebayo, Prince Adebayo.
Hello? Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Pastor. Thanks for hosting us. Thanks for the short biography of mine that was read. I do apologize that for some parts of the speech there, I could not hear, but I think that at this point, you expect me to make a statement. Do I have your confirmation?
Yes, I was saying that after introducing you, which I hope everybody has heard. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Pastor.
Yes, we can hear you, Pastor.
But can you hear me? Prince, Is your connection okay? You have to unmute yourself, Prince Adebayo.
Can you hear me now, please?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. I said I introduced you, and then I said if I have not introduced you well enough, you may add to what I have said briefly. But my first question to you is, why have you decided to go into politics? That's my first question.
Okay, thank you. I had part of the introduction. I am satisfied with the introduction, and thank you. If anything was omitted, the most important thing has been said, that I'm a Nigerian. I'm from Ondo State. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm running for the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think that's good enough introduction, and any other thing can follow thereafter. Your question is very apt. Why am I in politics? I'm in politics because essentially that is the most important thing that is wrong with the country at this point in time. Every other thing, it's right. The country is right. The natural endowments are right. The people themselves are well endowed. What we have lacked is leadership, and we, by constitution, said that we would derive our leadership by democracy. So if we are going to do that, and the politics is the process of leadership selection, then leadership is the challenge that we have. It means that the most important thing anyone can do at this point is take part in that process, so that if there is any talent that one has, that's when you can test the talent. If there is any idea or perspective that you're bringing into a leadership requirement, then this is the opportunity to display it. So I think for me as a patriot, it will always be like a malpractice not to participate in politics at this point. Everything a citizen can do in his own right alone, I have been doing, but that will not make any impact if we don't participate in the collective part of it. That's what I'm important.
Thank you very much. Under what platform are you running, or you have not yet decided on that? Sorry?
I'm not sure if we are still online.
Is he still online myself?
I'm looking for him. No, he's there. Just unmute yourself, Prince.
I say, what will you do for people with disabilities?
Okay. Thank you. I hope you had the tail of my presentation earlier, why I'm in politics. But what I would do for persons with disability, there are two things. First is the general part. People with disability are all over the world. And first, there's a difference based on the society in which you find yourself. In a well-run society, people with disability immediately feel better, even if you don't address a particular thing to their need. If you have a good society where services run, where you have good medication, where the laws are fair, and where amenities are built, people with disability will not feel the impact or the disability as much as they are feeling it now in a society that has basic dysfunction. So that's the general aspect, that with good governance, with good infrastructure, with a fair society, with investment being made in capacity building, many of the effects of disability on people with disability will be attenuated automatically. Then in addition,
you need to unmute. I don't know why your
Thank you, sir.
I don't know why your microphone.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Your
So
microphone
I keep getting muted.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I hope can have an improvement in that regard. So, hello?
Go ahead, yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I'm unmuted.
We can
Hello?
hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So basically, the other end of it, the second part, is that specific needs of persons with disability, in terms of first legal recognition to ensure that people with disability are not discriminated against in terms of things that they are able to do. Secondly, that we provide amenities. If someone has vision impairment, it is not just charities like Australian School of the Blind and all of that that should attend to that. Our school system should have braille, should have other visual aids. If someone is same thing for those who are impaired in terms of audio or hearing, same thing with those who have mobility issues. The way we design our buildings, public buildings, especially our roads, and then the access to public transportation, because this country now, there is a total sense of public transportation. And when you have when you have public amenities like public transportation and other aids, I think the people with disability would have the necessary support in society to be able to live as near normal a life as possible. And the last part is stigmatization, to do public enlightenment, to see that people with disability are not stigmatized in terms of policy and in terms of attitude. That's what I would do.
All right, thank you very much. Under what platform are you running for office, and why have you chosen that platform? And if you have not yet made up your mind what platform, can you explain to us which platform you are thinking of using and what your strategy will be to win the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
You are muted again. You have to unmute yourself. Prince Adewole, unmute yourself. You're muted. You have to unmute yourself, Prince.
And I'm running the same platform of farewell to poverty. Now it's farewell to poverty and insecurity because the insecurity has been added. So I'm running on Social Democratic Party, and the reason is that it's a party that has some history, has some structure, and it's not aligned to either of the two parties, APC and PDP, who have now become one, essentially. So that's, and I'm talking to other members of the third force to see that we gather together. My strategy is to ensure that we realize that the majority have been shut out of politics. And the two dominant parties are dominant over other parties, but they are still a minority. And less than 6 to 7% of those who are actively involved and conscious about the politics of this country are in any political party. So if we get a substantial number of those who are ordinarily outside the political party, who are fresh, who are independent, to come and support us, we are going to win the election.
Thank you very much. You said you are going to be running on the platform of the SDP.
That's correct,
Is that
sir.
correct? I know that the SDP has about 3 or 4, well, let me say 3 factions. Which faction do you belong to and solve their factional issues?
Well, because I'm running for president, and I joined the party at a point where those who were in factions have realized that the faction thing is not the best for them. So, from my experience in dealing with them, one, those who are in factions are discussing among themselves to try to solve their issues, which tends to be just personality and all of that. But they have not allowed that to affect their support for me, because I have support across the board from all the sides of the party and the new people joining the party. So I'm not affected by their history of having disagreement.
Well, you may think so, but if the factions are not aligned and then you are there running up and down, one faction can come and tie one faction in court. One faction will say no Congress, there's Congress. So that's a banana peel there, and you need to take note of that. Not only that, there's also a rumor, I'm sorry, because I know a few of these things, that the party or one faction thereof is just lying in wait for one of the dominant forces in PDP or APC to come and take it over. I don't know if you've heard that rumor also.
Yeah, I hear so much about that. I hear so many things. Some are fantastical, some are possible. But what gives us confidence is that we have wide support in the party. We have wide support among the membership. And in any case, people whom we are going to compete with in the general election, if they choose to come and compete with us inside our party, I think it's an opportunity for us to show to them that they can be beaten. So if anyone comes to join the party in a free democracy like this, my duty, if I'm going to be number 1 out of 200 million highly intelligent Nigerians, if I'm going to be number 1, then I need to start being number 1 in my party, whoever joins. I think beating them, it's something I look forward to if anyone decides to join. But with respect to what is happening in the party, I'm conscious of people having issues, and I think I have decided to help in facilitating coming together. But I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that the party is 90% more united today than it was 2 or 3 months ago. So I think that, and if you would go into the detail of that disagreement, disagreement is not fundamental. I think it's a question of administrative justice within the party. Everyone recognizes one structure of the party, and even the litigation, I see that they spend more time on how to negotiate litigation than how to litigate further. So I have confidence that that will not be banana peel. It will just be a first leadership test that one has to pass, the ability to unite people together. Because in reality, Nigeria itself has more divisions and more problems than the party. And if one is going to be head of state, it's someone that everyone in the country will look up to resolve issues in the country. Why should one be so challenged by differences inside a small political party? All the SDP members in this country are not up to 1% of the Nigerian population. If I cannot unite them, then that gives me a lot of assignments as to how I can unite the whole of Nigeria. So I'm not really fazed by that.
Okay, that's a nice and positive way to look at it, and we sincerely wish you the very best. Is there anybody else running, competing with you in the SDP? Do you know?
Yes, I have very brilliant competitors. They're extremely good people, and they are highly qualified people. So we're well balanced. We have the youth. I'm the youngest of the lot. Until recently, I think someone is younger than me joined yesterday. And then we have women. We have multiple women running, and we have men running. So at the end of the day, we will end up with more women running than men. So it's a well-balanced party. And I've engaged with the people who are running. They mean quite well, and they're highly intelligent people, they're patriots, and the issues that they discuss are the kind of issues that Nigerians will really be impressed. So I think it's a party that has talent. And when I recall when Chief M.K. Abiola ran in 1992 to 1993, he too had very strong candidates, aspirants that he ran with. He had people that Nigerians looked up to. So I'm highly impressed with SDP, that the kind of people that are breaking out, they're mostly fresh people with fresh ideas, highly, I learn all the time I talk to them, and we engage all the time.
All right, very good. So people have said 3 things. Number one, I was with somebody recently who said we shouldn't waste our time trying to have elections. What we should do is to force the government to, first of all, change the constitution. That the constitution is a fraud. It is not something we worked for. And the constitution should be changed and the country should be restructured. Otherwise, elections will never produce the right results. That's number one. Number two is that a third force or whatever party outside of APC or PDP cannot work. And I would like to think that SDP is probably one that falls into that category of third force. I'd like to know your opinion on these 2 subjects before we proceed. And a few people are waiting to ask you questions. There's a Yemi Awojide. I saw Pastor Sam Adeyemi also, and there's a Venerable Nelson Fadoju. I can't read the full name. Fadoju, Venerable Nelson Fadoju, and Pastor Sam Adeyemi. We shall take their questions, but I would like you to please respond to these 2 questions I've asked you. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard part of it, and I think I can answer the one I heard. I hope you're hearing me clearly. Well, you mentioned the issue of the Constitution, and some commentators or concerned persons or activists have the view that we should not hold the elections. We should try to force the government to address the issue of our Constitution. All I can say is that in my entire adult life, we've always been trying to force the government to do one thing or the other. We have never succeeded in forcing the government to do anything. We try to force the government to hand over So, hello?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned the issue of putting a hold on the election, try to force the government to address the issue of the Constitution because highly knowledgeable people have some reservations regarding the Constitution, including the fact that maybe it's not what they call autonomous. We didn't make it. It was just something imposed on us, and we have problems with it. And then the second leg is that the third force might not work. It's probably difficult, if not impossible, to defeat the behemoth of APC and PDP. The first one is that we've been trying since I became an adult in this country to try to force the government to do even the most basic thing. I spent my student years, I lost 2.5 years trying to force military to leave. And we did all of that. Then we didn't leave until they left 1999. And since 1999, we've been trying from Obasanjo today, government to do the right thing in one thing or the other. So why do we think they're going to do it now? So, and if you have a chance to come in and get something done by yourself, why do you want to stay out and see someone else who doesn't want to do it, who has no history of doing it, who has no inclination to do it, who has no incentive to do it? He has to do it for you. And if you are going to do it, where's the mechanism for doing it? I have always told people that, one, I have three attitudes to this constitution. One, it is not perfect, but if you take the constitution of the G20, this our constitution will compete with them. Some have no constitution at all. So our problem is not the constitution, is that people don't obey simple things like do not urinate here, do not drive above this speed. We're in a culture of disobedience, and our leaders lead in that. So it doesn't matter how faulty a constitution is, if you have people who are in habit of obedience. And that's a question of character, not the letter of the constitution. So the constitution can always be improved upon. Nigeria is lucky that we have some of the best constitutional lawyers in the world. Many countries of the world have had to use Nigerian lawyers. So we have experts in every generation who are very good in the constitution. So for that reason, we talk about the constitution all the time. So we can always improve on it. Sorry, I keep having somewhere in my village trying to have hello?
Hello? Are you in Ondo?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I do apologize that this is where I am, but if you forgive me, I will be joining as soon as I notice that I'm offline. My sincere apology. But I was saying that the Constitution is not perfect, but that is not the root cause of our misgovernance. Our misgovernance is a question of our character. We will remember that we didn't start with this constitution. The First Republic had a different constitution. It was parliamentary. It was more regional. We have stronger regions, but we had all kinds of malfeasance. Out of that, elections were not fair, violence. There Hello?
Go ahead, please.
So we ended up with military rule. So if that constitution was perfect, why did the republic collapse? So it will show to you that if you go to any constitutionalist, some would prefer that system, the regional one, with a strong parliamentary system, but it worked in England for hundreds of years, worked in most of Europe, but it didn't work here. So we can always try to improve. And if you give me the Nigerian constitution today, I will show 3,000 things I can improve on. But if I'm president under this constitution, I have enough power to stop corruption, incompetence, indolence, nepotism, and all kinds of misgovernance. So I think that that's my attitude to it. Second thing is that people should realize that the president cannot change the constitution on his own. He can't even pass a single act into law. So people who believe that there's a constitutional amendment or radical change in the constitution, I think they better send those who share their belief to the National Assembly. So that if you have, out of 109 senators, if you have 85 who believe that this constitution is not good enough, and if you have out of 360 legislators representatives, you have 300 or 250 who believe that this constitution is not good enough, you stand a better chance of improving it, of amending it, than if you stay out and you say that you want to set up a system. We have tried everything in this country. We've tried hierarchy. We have military government with civilian ministers. That didn't work. Gawan tried that. We've tried system, parliamentary in the First Republic. It didn't work. We tried a system whereby we had interim government under the late Chief N.S. Shenekon. That did not work either. So I think as we have been unlucky in the choice of the drivers that we have put in charge, but it doesn't mean that Mercedes is not a Mercedes, or a Toyota is not a Toyota. It's just the bad driver. So I think we need to change the drivers first, have a people-oriented government first, have people who are not coming in because they have money or they are friends of the. We just inherited in 1999 those who were friends of the military and their apologists and contractors, and so that's it. But if we now choose the opportunity or use the opportunity to have people who arise from the people, the way the constitution is designed in this republic, it is assumed that an ordinary person will come out of the people and will start persuading his compatriots and go around the country. On the strength of his ideas, people will start to gradually listen, and one of them is going to become president. That's how our constitution is written. It's not written that few people sitting in the conclave will continue to recycle themselves all the time. And that's where the problem lies. It's not the constitution per se. But I'm not against any effort to amend or improve the constitution. But I think that to do that, you need the legislative arm to have people who are intellectually, philosophically, and ideologically persuaded in that direction. And if you don't have them, there's nothing the president can do. Because when I'm elected president, I'm bound to execute the constitution as it is. But if I'm president and there is a constitutional amendment bill that is brought to me that improves on this constitution, even changes me from being president to being prime minister or whatever, if I look at it, I will sign it. But it must come from the people, not just from constitutional theoreticians who have no mandate of the people.
Well, some may argue that nobody really has a mandate right now, but like you rightly said, this is what we have, and this is what we probably should try and use, and so on and so forth. But the other question was, is it possible that a third force can take on the political behemoth and structure and win an election?
Clearly and very easily, we can do that. If we look at the history of elections, 1999, I have a figure, and you know it was intention was showing that it wasn't the result that people thought it was going to be. In 2003, there was complaint. If you look at statistics, 2007 is only the worst so far. 2011. If you look at it, there's no resounding mandate for any of these parties. And if you look at apathy, what we call apathy, which is voters not actually showing up, the majority have been staying out. And our duty is to go and get the majority that have been staying out to say, don't stay out, come in. The problem so far has been that for you to take over power as a political party, you actually have to be a political party, not just a bunch of guys with INEC certificate. You have to be in 186,000 plus polling units. You have to be active in 8,800 wards. You have to be strong in 774 local governments. You have to be strong in every department. And to do that without being a criminal or breaking the bank or recycling public funds, it requires a lot of persuading other people to join you and make contributions. So this is what has not been done. It's only when you have done that, you've gone everywhere, and you are now not able to beat them. That's what you can say it's impossible. It's not impossible. It's hard work, and we have not been doing the hard work. It's easy. Like I can say to you, Pastor, and my other compatriots on this call, that I'm running for president. And all I do is just sit in front of Zoom or go on morning show and do some, sit in my parlor and get journalists to come and interview me. Then I will say, and at the end of the election, I will say, well, it's not been fair to me. I've not worked hard. So I think we need to work hard. And one person running on his own can't make himself president. From my experience and for the work we have been doing, you need 3.6 million Nigerians working equally like you to be able to win the presidency of Nigeria without buying people. Because for you to go to 186,000 polling units, you need at least 28 to 35 activists working in each of the polling units. That's how it works. And you can't pay them because you don't have enough money in the world to pay them. So what you will do is that you communicate with them more. In our campaign now, we're about maybe 1 million thereabouts. And we're already having issues coordinating everybody, spreading everybody, because going to the city of Kano and having 500,000 people welcoming you doesn't mean anything, because you need to be in all the 44 local governments, and then you need to go to all the wards. So Lagos has 254 wards. If I'm in Korea and giving press conferences, doesn't mean that people in Nigeria are working with me, and Badagry or Topo or all those places. So it is that amount of work that we have not been accustomed to doing. And if we do it, and we look like we're not doing anything because we don't have the major editors liking your face and put your fine pictures on the front page of the paper, but you actually do the work underneath. That's the work. Because you don't lose election in the TV studio. You don't lose election in the fancy hotel. You lose election or win it at each of the polling units. And if you don't have 20 people, in the past elections, I used to do election litigation, and many of the political parties, even the so-called big ones, in 60% of the polling units, they have no agent. INEC will say, bring your agent. They don't have anybody. So they just write names and the agents don't show up. And, when we used to have 120,000 polling units, only about 28% of them were competitive. In some of them, you go to Ekrimo and Bayelsa and all those other places, people will not show up, INEC will not show up, the politician will not show up, maybe just a policeman sitting down there and thumping away. So if we are able to cover the ground, I think we'll beat anyone. We'll continue to beat, not only beat them now, we'll beat them for a very long time.
Thank you very much. We're looking at hope in positive action. Hope in positive action. Number one, do you have any hope? And what do you mean, or what do we mean by positive action? After which I'll ask Mr. Venerable Nelson to ask his question, Pastor Sam Adeyemi to ask their question also. Is there hope for Nigeria?
Well,
and what do you mean by positive action?
There is hope. There is hope for Nigeria. And hope is different from just wishful thinking. They're not even relatives. They're not cousins at all. Hope is believing in what is there. That is to say, Nigeria, every ingredient of success is there. So I'm not wishing that these things were there. They are there already. So my hope is that they will work. So when you have a car that is well serviced and you put fuel in it and you got it from a good manufacturer, you have the hope that when you wake up in the morning, it's going to start. But you don't have the hope that it's going to fly, because that's wishful thinking. It's not designed to fly. So I have the hope that Nigeria will do well, because even in small portions where we have tried to do what is right, it has worked. And why I say hope is positive action is that one, hopelessness is our biggest disease right now. It is not just the malfeasance that our leaders are committing. It is that the malfeasance have given us a state of mind where we lose hope. And when you lose hope, you don't make effort. It's like a person who is in stormy water. If he loses hope, he will assume he's drowning and his situation cannot be helped. He will stop swimming and he will just have that self-fulfilling prophecy of doom. So we need to have that hope, not just as a pep talk, as a necessary ingredient for us waking up in the morning and taking positive action. And I said hope in positive action because I don't want the hope to be an idle hope. The hope requires you to take steps. If you think that someone has is going to give you a job, and you have that hope that you are going to pass the interview, you will wake up on time, prepare yourself, and go for it. You have hope that you're going to pass an examination. You are going to read and study and go for the examination. But if you are hopeless and say, this examination is in quantum physics, I don't know anything about it, I will not even waste my time, then you are not going to be able to go and do it. So but if you have hope that you are going to pass the exam, but you don't show up, you will still not pass it. So what I'm telling us in this country is that these leaders who are giving us hopelessness are not our natural leaders. They are there as a test of our faith. We need to select leaders that God has proposed for us. These leaders are just there to test us because they are not our leaders. And that our problems are not insurmountable and they are not beyond human comprehension. Is that they are not taking care of this assignment. So something as simple as fixing the compound clean. If the cleaner doesn't show up or shows up and doesn't clean, the whole compound will be filthy. It's not that cleaning is such a superhuman endeavor. It's just because people are not paying attention. It's getting running water. What is government? Just keeping security, providing justice, and giving very basic attention to services. The government is not going to take you to heaven. The government is not going to give you a better brain. The government is not going to change your DNA. You are not asking government to do something superhuman. You are saying government to first create a society where people are secure, using the forces that we have to secure everyone. Secondly, to do justice. Most of the things that aid Nigeria don't require money. They require fairness and justice. If I am in charge of a public place, speaking of a public chair, exercising public power, using public resources, all I need to do is to be conscious of that. Even the use of my time. Who can visit me when I'm in office? Because I'm a person who is paid to do public work. How much I pay attention to, what I do with the resources. That's all. Yeah. I've gone around the country and I've seen the hallmarks and landmarks of what was done in the period of the First Republic, with lesser money, with lesser manpower, with lesser exposure. But I saw that the leaders of that time were more just and fairer. We realized that I don't have to be a millionaire. If I'm a school teacher, I'm not a prime minister. If I just feed my family and do my work, that's enough. The rest of the things around me, as empty as they are, don't belong to me. They belong to the people. And in society, you can't help yourself. This idea of self-help in society, in trying to force ourselves to help ourselves, you want to make all the money for yourself, for the next generation, is irrelevant. What is relevant is to realize that At the most critical period in human life, you cannot help yourself. When you are born newly, you are born helpless into society, and society helps you. And in the end of your life, when you are sick, or when you are old, or when you are dead, you can't bury yourself. You need society. So in between is you trying to take benefits of society and ensuring that you contribute more so that society is better than you make it. And this philosophy, it doesn't cost money. It just costs a mind shift, a mindset. You can borrow all the money from the World Bank, IMF, Ghana, China. It won't change anything because this country is awash with money. We have too much money already. What we lack is justice and direction. And you can do that on your own by getting populations together. And in my way around, I discover that, truly speaking, the leaders have come from the people. Because some of the problems we see with the leaders, you will see that even the ordinary people are having to struggle with them. And it takes a lot of talking, interacting before people realize, oh, these are my duties as a citizen. And a person who is not a good citizen will never be a good president. That is guaranteed. It's not every citizen that can be president. Some don't have the skill, but every president has to first start to be a good citizen. And if he's not, 80% of the challenges we will face in office will be a test, not of presidency, but a test of good citizenship, which many in our leadership lack today.
Right. Let me take questions now. There are 3 people. There were 4, I think. I don't know where the 4th person is, but Venerable Nelson Fadoju, Pastor Sam Adeyemi, and Charles Iyore, please, can you ask your questions? Please unmute yourself and ask your questions. Venerable Nelson Fadoju, Pastor Sam Adeyemi, and Charles Iyore. I hear Pastor Sam needs to leave shortly. So
Thanks.
please, Venerable, please ask your question very briefly. Then Pastor
Thank
Sam will
you,
ask
sir.
questions.
I want to thank you very much for this interview. And I want to thank African Leadership Group for organizing this interview. Let me start first with this question, because I know that at times, broadcaster, journalist, mediator, and arbitrator, litigation don't usually work at best. As a lawyer, sir, what can you do in the area of arbitration and mediation than court litigation in your party so that there will be peace? Because peace brings cordiality and group work for equity and fairness to stay. Secondly, we have been reading from the media that you are a greenhorn in politics and that you are facing elephant, even though those people that are making this comment forgot that David killed Goliath. So in this area, what is your opinion? And finally, you are a youth and you belong to the youth, which Nigerians are presently clamoring for. What do you intend to do for the youth of this nation when you are eventually elected to be the president of Nigeria? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please note those questions. Have you noted those questions? Because I like them all to ask the questions before you respond. Pastor Sam, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you and the organizers. Forgive me, a call just came in. So my question is around the economy, particularly the burden of the debts that Nigeria has. How do you plan to help Nigeria to get out of that? Because a large portion of all our current revenues goes into servicing of debts. There's no nation that can progress if it continues to be under that kind of burden. The other part is regarding the youth. The youths have become almost like they've been abandoned, and now security, kidnapping, and all the rest are being perpetrated by these youths or those that are noble will want to exit Nigeria to other climes. How do you intend to stem this very backward development? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pastor.
You want to take those two now, or?
Yeah, let me take those two. First,
Okay.
what are you using? Starting from Venerable Nelson Padoju, what are your three questions? What are you use arbitration, litigation, mediation? The end is justice. And you do justice by knowing the truth and by paying the price for respecting the truth. Because sometimes it is not that the parties don't know the truth. Sometimes the truth is inconvenient and the truth doesn't favor you or favor your preference. So in my party, I've been talking, and I believe that within a month or so, you will see that parties have come to understanding. And when you will realize that most of them have the same objective of trying to win, and they just have disagreement regarding methodology, I think that would be easy. Second part has to do with as a greyhound. This is the era of the greyhound. God, I don't want to make too many biblical allusions, but this is Easter. I think I can be excused if I do. What we need to realize is that God believes in freshness. And when he wants to change the history of the people, he brings fresh leaders. So that the lowliest of his brothers will be the vessel in the hand of God. So I think that what matters is for us to have the courage and to mean well. And that's what matters at this time. And I believe that many of the people who are now behaving like Leviathan themselves will realize that they just had an opportunity to serve, and they haven't served well. So if another person or other people are having opportunity now, we should not have, don't let us despair. It is not by might, it is by truth. And the truth is on the side of Nigerian people. God cannot be ascribed with callousness, that he will have 200 million of his own being that he created, and he will leave them in perpetual slavery, perpetual backwardness. I think there must be a time of jubilee, and there must be a time, even the captivity of Zion ended at a time. So something like this must come to an end, and this is the time. We just have to have the courage and have the spirit of Joshua to fell the wall of Jericho. With respect to youth, the greatest harm done to the youth is not that they are denied benefits, it's that they are denied participation. Because a country's wealth lies in its youth. The energy, the raw energy, every citizen of a great country is captured by his country in its time of youth to be of service to the country. What has been done to Nigerian youth is that in political, social, economic, and other aspects of life, the youth have been denied participation. So unemployment is an attempt to deny them economic participation, because the way to perpetuate a system of a few oligarchs, plutocratic oligarchs, as I would say, if I'm permitted, to sit down together and continue to make the weekly money, monthly money they make from the Commonwealth, is to stop people from participating. In ministries, a permanent secretary will not go on leave because they want to hide the file, and they won't recruit new people and things like that. So if it goes like that, people will not leave public office unless they want to put a crown to succeed them. They won't let a brilliant person join their cabinet in case he has fresh ideas. So this is what is happening. So what I can do for the youth is to get the youth to come to the country and serve. I'm not promising the youth that I will buy a car for every youth. I will put money in the account of every youth. That every youth who wants to serve his country, whether from president to vice president to senate president to a school teacher to a refuse collector, will be given an opportunity to serve. Because when you serve the country will serve you in return. And many who have gone abroad out of frustration will come back. And many who are thinking of going, they will stay because Nigerians are home bird. Like, because people, those who are abroad, send money home, call home. So we are people who love our country. If the country is allowed to love us back. And the leaders created an impression as if the country doesn't love us. With respect to the economy, fundamentally, there is nothing wrong with our economy. What is happening in our economy is that rent is overtaking productivity. And rent is the business of the government. So those who are either collecting oil rent and some other rent that come into the economy have created a governmental system where the government occupies everywhere. And they've been able to capture the Central Bank of Nigeria. I always tell a story between Clement Enson and the kind of arguments between Clement Enson as governor of Central Bank and Chief Awolowo as Minister of Finance and Gawat. How they used to disagree between the fiscal need of the government and the monetary approach of the Central Bank, including even the Civil War. The Central Bank said, you cannot use us to postpone the Civil War because that is not our job. Our job is to protect the currency and control inflation and make the economy work. And got to the point where Gawan lost it at the time and said, well, we will take three of the board members to Babish and get them shot as saboteurs. How can we be at war and the Central Bank will not allow us access to the money? And in the end, someone had to relent because they said, well, shoot us. We are that for the bank. So we don't have that level of control now. Every institution that is meant to checkmate the government has now been subordinated to the government of the day. And then what happens to our economy? One, our currency is debased because government is allowed to print too much of it and misuse. Inflation, because there's no productivity and the people in government have access to all the money and they take it to whatever they want to do in the economy or outside the economy. So we have inflation. So whatever you earn as your wages, even if you are employed, cannot take you home and cannot pay your bills. With respect to borrowing, first, there have three ways I tackle the borrowing. Number one, some of the borrowing, that's aggregate borrowing for the economy of Nigeria is small. And why it is small? Because our debts are within our budget. So when you look at our debt, all our debts are captured inside our budget. But our budget is a lie. Our budget does not capture up to 12% of our income. Most of Nigerian money is stolen, and they don't get into appropriation. And by the time you are going to National Assembly struggling with budget, whether it's 5 trillion, 6 trillion, 7 trillion, those who are in charge of our resources have already pocketed 35 trillion, 40 trillion. And if you see, as we are talking now, even the government cannot deny it, I've been shouting for the past 2 months, now they are beginning to admit that majority of our crude oil is stolen off record. And the first time this stealing was noticed was when Shagari was Minister of Finance. And they went to a flow station and they were loading a vessel. And he asked a very simple question. You know, Shagari has very soft voice and asked simple question. How do you know how much of this crude is being taken? He said, well, we use water and ballast and all that. I said, no. Then he went back and wrote a memo in the other Gawan's government that we must put flow stations in all our stations. Unfortunately, 50 years after, we don't have flow stations that work. And now NFTC is telling us that where they can't control it, they have to shut down because 80% of our crude is being stolen. And that is crude, that is physical, that you can see. So if the money is not being captured, it's like a family head who earns 100,000 every month and tells his family, yes, 12,000. And they're doing their budget within the 12,000. Then they go to a neighbor to borrow 20,000. Then they will say, oh, our borrowing is almost 2 times our earning. But their earning is not correct. They are lying to them. The man is putting the money in some pool business or some other family somewhere, or using it to do whatever nonsense that is doing outside the family. That's what is happening to us. And that is why a lot of people who have no business showing interest in politics are showing interest. Because the ordinary person who is not part of those collecting this money or stealing this code, if you go to him and talk about politics, you say, what concerns me? Talk about election concerns me. But the person who has been living on a lie contempt for most of their lives, that their entire net worth is based on criminality, they're highly interested in who comes in. And they want to make sure that people who can rock the boat, who can ask for accountability, don't come in. But when you come in, a pastor, you will see that you will not have to borrow anymore. For Nigeria to do well, at a minimum, the government must be able to carry our budget if the current exchange rate remains. We should be able to carry our budget to about 45 to 50 trillion to be able to address the basic needs that we need, that we have. Nigeria should not budget less than $200 to $250 billion annually for the size of the country, for our population, if we are going to be able to meet the basic indices of development. But we make more than that money, but it's being stolen. So if you don't stop that, then you are talking of some borrowing. Those borrowing, they are borrowing for two reasons. They borrow, one, when they are greedier than the incumbency. Someone is in government for 4 years, and he looks at the budget and realizes that all the money that can come into the coffers is not enough for me. So what he does is to bankrupt the future and borrow more money than he needs. So because when he borrows the money is available to him now, he spends the money. He doesn't have to go to the taxpayer to ask for money. So he goes to borrow money. Secondly, if you look at the pricing of our project, if you just do appropriate pricing of our project and you do the costing, in those days when I was very young, I used to go to Broad Street to go to Bureau of Statistics. Then you will get all the figures, even how much pepper is sold, how much a hammer is sold, how much a nail is sold. So those who are giving contracts to government, they can do all the bill of quantity and the works. You will see that. But if you do that now for any project, whether it's railway, whether it's airport, whether it's road construction, you will see that we are costing our project at like 7 times what it should cost. So in places where we don't have to pay so much for environmental cleaning, we don't have to pay so much insurance for workers, we spend more money than US, than Europe on road construction. So when you put all of these costs together, that's why we are borrowing. However, how I would deal with it is that if you can just be firm and be patriotic and you don't care whose ox is God, and you're not yourself asking for return, and you're not asking people to give you money to run your second term and all of that. If you just collect 25% more of the revenue that is being stolen, you can do that without even having to behead anyone. You can do that without having to jail anyone. You just have to say, in this state house, we don't take cuts. This revenue has to come in. You will see that we can pay down our debt in 6 months. If paying down our debt is a major manifesto, we pay down our debt in 6 months. You will remember that, if you remember prior to football, when Babangida was president in Nigeria, minister president, and we had the first Gulf War, we were able to save, some of it was lost, but we were able to save $12.5 billion US dollars. It was that money that we used to build Abuja, until then Abuja was really not going to go anywhere. It was part of that money we used to do Third Mainland Bridge. It was that money we used to do realization of Lokoja, Abuja to Kano, and it was meant to continue. Just 12.5 billion at that time. Now, the second Gulf War came. Now we have this, when this government came into it, the oil was around 25, 29, 30, thereabouts. Never went north of 35. Now it's above 100. What kind of alchemy in economics do you use? You can ask Pastor Tony, you can ask anyone. How does it work that the product on which your currency is based has grown in power value 300%, but your currency is falling? It doesn't happen. It can't even happen to blind people. So what happens is that there are 2 books. The book of thieves, where they share the money, and then the book of fools, which they give to us and say, this is your economy. So all you need to do is to keep asking that question. You don't even have to wait for me to come to government. Start asking the question. Mr. President, you are the Minister of Petroleum. There's Minister of Finance. There's NNPC board. There is the Secretary General of the Federation, Auditor General, there is National Assembly, Senate Committee on Public Accounts, House Committee on Public Accounts. What is happening to our crude oil? So that's one side. Second side is really going to the talent economy, where instead of people in NCC and National Assembly and the ministry making money out of our telecom, they should treat telecom as infrastructure so that the bandwidth cost will come down. A lot of the money they are using for election, now if you go to NIFTA, if you go to NCC, this money can be used to develop broadband. Then with broadband, young people will have access to the global economy. They will be able to make money. And I think you see the struggle we're having since we started talking here, that the internet wasn't helping us. Imagine if I was to run a call center in Ondo, how will I succeed in doing that? So if we do all of that, we will be able to pay down our debt, balance our economy, and even put 80% of our spending in capital projects. And I have all the capital projects we need to finish. If we are going to be able to absorb all the labor, we need to do with Ajaokuta once and for all. We need to dualize all our federal highways and hand them over to the state for maintenance. We need to develop agriculture and have at least 2,000 tractors in every local government across the country. Have a factory to build tractors here, so that our people can go into agriculture. We need to stop relying on the national grid for our electricity. We need to have a system where we build circuits all over the country, and we can start by dividing Nigeria into 6, and Lagos as a special center, making 7, and they can start generating power within their own circuitry and deal with it. So that the things you can do, and you will say that the economy is not that bad. It's just that what we are losing in our economy is that we are in a situation where a person can be born in Nigeria, go to school in Nigeria, get to the age of 50 and have no stable job. All that useful adult life. And there's no welfare system because, of course, those who are in charge of our economy have ensured that our money is sterilized. Most of Nigerian money comes straight from NNPC, gets monetized by the central bank, and goes straight to people's account, and the money is wired out of the country immediately. So the money is not able to multiply. So lack of multiplier effect is what is happening in Nigeria. And if we deal with that, we have a special session dealing with the economy, but that is what we need to do. If we don't do it, we will never get out of it. But if we do it, we will come out of it very easily.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those answers to those questions. And as Iyore has a question, Ejiro Efekodo has a question, and I don't know who this is. Ophia HR Organization for Something has a question. Straight to the point, please, Charles.
Good evening. Can you hear me, Prince?
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. I've listened very carefully to your analysis, and I must say thank you for bringing constructive thoughts to our very many problems. The world is going through an energy transition from fossil fuel to energy that is not based on increasing the carbon level in the world, carbon zero. Also, the world presents Africa as a country, a continent of hunger, of starvation, and of malnutrition, which is also in the SDG agenda of the United Nations and all of the nations. But if you look carefully at the hierarchy of needs, you realize that food in itself is not a problem. You can see the green behind you. Being able to feed at all means that you are in existence. For you to begin to live, you must have a homestead, a house that can take you forward. So the strategy must be that the world must continue to stop seeing us as those who cannot feed ourselves, because the issue of feeding has been dealt with by the world, by God himself. But the situation where on a regular basis and at every local government level and every community, we must tell ourselves how many people who used to live in hotels now live in houses. And that for me is a key strategy. And when people begin to leave hotels and begin to live in houses, these resources that are wasting will not have opportunity to fly. So I want you to add that one as your main argument, that the only way to get out of the darkness that the continent is, it's not on food, it's not on kwashiorkor, it's not all those pictures they used to blackmail us. It's the ability for us to build our own houses by set standards. The situation where we're having houses crash or fall in 2022 and killing everybody in the high-rise building is pathetic. I think you must recalibrate that bit of hope and push it hard. It's a lot easier to have people to follow you. Don't argue with them. Every time I hear you say dollar, dollar, dollar. Dollar is not the currency of Nigeria. Dollar is an American currency. And the currency has attributes. It's used as a sovereign to reward hard work and impel productivity. So these are things I would like you to put your mind to, so that we can adjust our perception of ourselves, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it here. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Architect, in your talk, please.
First, I want to thank you, sir. This series has been extremely enlightening. The different series, and this one in particular, I'm particularly impressed with the very, very practical solutions that our guest has put on the table. He shows somebody who is ready and prepared to be Mr. President. I want to really appreciate that. I just want to ask a very important question to me. I want to look at the concept of the youth and the clamor for what they call power shift, as opposed to what I call responsibility transfer. What sort of game plan would you have to harness the very effective and stupendous resources of the young people, so that a lot of the energy that is being channeled into, the negative aspect of ICT that we call 419 is moved into very productive energies and will position Nigeria as a transit point for IT development for the young people. What would be your game plan, sir, so that I don't take much more time?
Okay, thank you. Is that noted? We'll take one more question from Olusegun Roberts. Please unmute yourself, Olusegun Roberts.
Yes, thank you very much, Pastor, for this great program. I'm Olusegun Roberts. I'd like to ask, as president looking into the complexity of Nigeria, how do you harness all the endless possibility of human resources that we have? We don't really lack people. There are so many in the diaspora who are willing to come and turn this country around. But it seems there is no political will to get these people on board. No one is willing to give them a chance, and no one really wants to give them a chance, especially politically. What is your blueprint to ensure that all the brain drains are brought back to Nigeria, and all the experts with their expertise are brought back to Nigeria for the good of this nation? Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Mr. Adebayo, to answer those questions, please.
Thank you, sir. Let me start with the architect. Thank you for your kind comments. Well, for the youth and responsibility transfer or power transfer, what we need to understand is that it is not innovative for the youth of the country to run the affairs of the country. So it is the natural thing to do. We are just restoring balance of order. If you study world history, every great empire, Alexander the Great, David, Israel, any great leader, Artaxerxes, they were all youths. Even in Nigeria, our prime minister was a youth, the military that took over was a youth. So youth being in government is nothing that should be breaking news. What has happened is that our youth have been denied their heritage. Because when you want to go into power, you need to be given an opportunity. And you need to be given training and experience. And you will see when I talk to many of our leaders, I meet with them, I ask them questions. When you were 32, you were a permanent secretary. When you were 34, you were a vice chancellor. And this and that. So the people before you gave you opportunity. Remember that when we had political independence in 1960, it wasn't natural, it wasn't automatic that the British bureaucrats had to leave. It was the leaders of the region and the federal government who made a conscious effort that our youth must be given opportunity. They could have retained. There are many British colonies that after independence they retained the British bureaucrats and technocrats for 2 decades or more. But they had confidence in the youth of that time and said, no, we have our children went to. My uncle was leaving modern school of economics straight to Nigeria. I was made the director of census immediately. And some left university 2 years later, they were recognition representatives. They were given opportunity. And this is what I'm going to give to the youth. When if it pleases God, and by the grace of Nigerian people, when we come to power, you will see ministers, you will be surprised. The kind of responsibility will be to the youth. The responsibility is not an opportunity. And we should not follow the example where power, authority is like a privilege now turned into an abuse. It is that the more responsibility you are given, the more humility you show, the more caution you show, the more competence you show. And these are the things that we do. If you look at even our party, 90% of our state chairmen are youth. In Lagos State, our state chairperson now is a lady, one of these NSAS youth, is the Lagos State SDP chairperson. A few months ago, she was before the NSAS panel complaining about how they're not being well treated. Now she's leading our party's fortune in the most populous and most commercial state in Nigeria. So when you give this opportunity to young people, they will learn and they will go into responsible adulthood. With respect to brain drain, people who are leaving Nigeria are not living for lack of love for Nigeria. It's like someone living an abusive relationship. If you are going to bring them back, you have to remove the abuse. You have to address the government. You don't even need to tell any Nigerian, come back, because they are always checking. Once they notice that one, we have improved security, that they don't have to come and commit suicide. Right from the airport, when they come on a visit, nobody is placing their pocket and trying to get the last of their dollar or the yen or whatever out of their pocket. When they pay for services and services are delivered, when they can post the letter in the post office and it works, when they bring ideas to the country and they don't have to queue for days looking for the minister, and nobody tells them, I bring money before I switch your card. Once they come and interact with us and see that these things are changing, they will bombard us. Nobody will tell you before they come back. But we must remove the things that made them to go away. I was away from this country for many years practicing law. There were times when I would be at airport in tears. Not because I didn't want to be abroad. I wanted to be home. I wanted to serve my country. So I practiced law in New York, I practiced in California, I practiced in Australia, I practiced all over the world. There are places I will be, I wake up in the morning and I'm in shuffling through the snow. And I'm asking myself, this is not the life. When my natural home is Ondo, Nigeria, this is where I want to be. Why am I here? But you have to be there. So what we need to do is to make the home to work. And this is what I promise Nigerians who are overseas. Don't worry, I'm not going to send an ambassador to advertise to you. I'm not going to do anything. I am just going to lead a team of Nigerians. And we are going to make home. You will come home and say, I don't know, go home. Then you tell your spouse, I think we need to sell our house and come back. But it's not by preaching. You have to do it practically. And that was the hallmark of Chief Adewole campaign. We went all over the diaspora, encouraging Nigerians to come home and talking to many of them. So that's what we need to do. But in a country where you cannot call police for help, when you are in need of help, when you cannot call an ambulance because there is none to call, then even the greatest of our patriots, people like Children and Co, have to live abroad because they have an accident and have a disability. So I have some of my best friends who are top-notch scientists. One of them was in tears because his children had to take him to the US because he had to do dialysis and a few other things. Nobody was around to help. So if we change this thing, it is not like just by talking about it. Nigerians are naturally, they come home for burial, for wedding, for this. Every excuse to come home, and children come home. And where they are overseas, I go to London or from the US to do a chairman of wedding all the time. All my cousins have over 800 family members in London alone. We feel like it is a heritage generation. So they don't want to be there. They don't want to have to bring Serie to come and play for them in London. They want to be home. What we need is to make the home conducive. And we cannot deny the fact that Nigerians who are abroad, they are human beings like the rest. They will not come back. I remember those days when I was quite young, Serie Adu with the musician, the father was a lecturer in the University of Lagos. They were the family, the mother was European, and they were living there. They were thrown out of their quarters, living quarters, over some flimsy administrative injustice, and they left. How many more have left? So in this country, you can't get a job unless you pay for it. You can't post a letter, you never get it. You cannot do basic citizen interaction with government. There's no local government anymore. So if we put this in place, don't worry, Nigerians will come back. And the youth are the ones to do it. The youth should not have a sense of entitlement. They should have a sense of disgust and injustice that they are not allowed to contribute. The country is at war all over the world. Who wins? Who fights war for the country? The youth. I lost two of my uncles in their 20s in the Nigerian Civil War. And my grandfather told me that he did everything to stop them from joining the armed forces. To the extent that one of them went and changed his name so that his father would not know. That was how patriotic Nigerian youth can be. So I lost two uncles. The dead body was brought home from the war. The junior brother immediately went and enlisted the army. Notwithstanding that his brother's body had just been brought home. And these are Ondo people, these are Nigerian people. This is the experience of Nigeria. But there's a limit to how much abuse you can take. Because Nigerians now are not only being raised in Nigeria. In the global world, we have seen the experience of that country. When you go abroad, even someone was telling me he went to Mecca for a pilgrimage, and that changed his life. Because he saw how police in Saudi Arabia will treat you. That's when he knew that, police is supposed to be polite, it's supposed to be responsive, it's supposed to be nice. So if we do restore all of this, which you can do, I can tell you today that there's no criminality in Nigeria. Because the highest criminality takes place in the state house. If you stop the criminality in the state house, there will be no criminality outside. Virtually everyone is repeating what they are being told to do. If you are in Serie, to be posted from one ministry to the other, you have to pay money. To visit important people in the country, their PA, the SA will ask for money. You cannot be a Nigerian and pick a call to the wife to the state house and say you want to speak to someone in the state house today. No one will answer you. But if you have $10,000 to give to somebody, they will already book an appointment for you. So if the people who are in charge of the law are now perpetrating crime, then we are not qualified to ask them to come and stop criminality outside. If you look at insecurity, for every 1 million made by a bandit or kidnapper, those security services are making 10. That's why there is a symbiosis between the two sides. So the two sides have almost merged into one. If we address that, I can tell you, the quality, the character, the patriotism, and the spirit of the person who is president is very important in this country. Why? Because unlike in the past, we put all the executive power of the federation in the hand of one person. So his vices are our vices. His fears are our fears. His ignorance our ignorance. So his prejudice is our prejudice. And if we have a weakness for money, we will all become thieves because we will start looking for money from the top to the bottom. If it's a person who doesn't love people, who is partial, who is prejudicial, you will see prejudice all over the place. So if he's incompetent, everybody will be competent. Because you cannot write a competent man as a minister to an incompetent president. You are wasting your time. And it's not as if I have not interacted with government at various levels. I have seen that you cannot speak French to someone who doesn't understand French. You cannot speak Latin to the person who is a professor like Kano. So speaking governance to someone who cannot grasp it, who is not interested in it, will be just see that what we have so far is that politics is a bunch of guys coming together, contributing money, contributing whatever, and they go together and have the spoil of office as a reward. That's why people will tell you, I'm against the president or I'm for the president. But it depends on how they are rewarded after the election. So, and all the justice fighting concept from party to party is a reflection of the discourse about how they cook the whole project together, and suddenly now somebody is not being fair to them. It's not about what helps the country, what we need to do. So the youth have to take over power, not because automatically being a youth makes you an expert. No, we have enough youth who are qualified, and the more responsibility you give to the youth, the more they understand how things work. Because you can say, why are you working, what are not working in my community? Oh, you start criticizing the country. For you to have made supervision for the works department in your local government, and you are given the mandate to make water run, then you know the system of the reservoir, you know piping, you know the costing, then you now know if water doesn't work. Then you do one explaining why water doesn't work and the lead time you need to make it work. But these are not involved in it. That's why people in the kitchen who are cooking don't complain that the food is late, because they see the process, they are involved in it. So that's what we need to do. The youth of Nigeria will not be restive anymore because they will see the process. And I think that is what we need to do. And we are lucky that in spite of all the imperfections around us, the elite have not truncated the idea that we can transfer power from one person to another. Let us take advantage of that.
Well, thank you very, very much, Mr. Adewole Adebayo, the law team of Ondo Town. Am I right? Let me ask you a question, and then Anthony will ask you a question also. A lot of people have been saying that, number one, there's this northern dominance of our politics and our leadership, and that the northern agenda, or whatever it is a very strong force that dominates the politics here and there. Some people have said that if the northerners decide to pick a candidate, it is unlikely that we may be able to get votes in the south to counter that candidate. And finally, that is this agitation that the southeast are insisting that they must produce the presidency. And some people in the North are saying over their dead bodies. What are your comments on these issues? Very quickly. And then I'll ask Anthony to ask his question also.
Okay, let me answer this quickly because this is very important to many people. One is that the idea of North is not a simple thing. I grew up in this country, we're talking about North. Political North is different from geographical North. And the idea of North and South, first, it's easy for me to do the analysis. I am not a Southern candidate, and I'm not a Northern candidate. I'm not able to be a Southern candidate because in my entire life, what has made me who I am and my entire consciousness of civilization up to this point has not shown to me that the South is in my favor or the North is in my favor. I meet people across boundaries. I've lived in the South. I was born in Ondo. I grew up in Lagos. I've lived in the North. I've lived overseas. And I've crossed everyone. So there is no Northern political thinking that I can see. What I can see is that within the elite, especially the class that came to power in 1966, within that elite, the recruitment process among them. And if you were a head of state, you appointed somebody as a minister. That person came into public service as a minister or commissioner under you. Then they regard themselves as your boy. And from time to time, they go to you to seek advice, or if they have any difficulties in advancing their career or some other socioeconomic other issues, they come to you. So in this political elite, many of the leaders happen to come from the North because we were under military rule for many years. And Obasanjo, who is not from the North, is the captain of this 1956 class because the most senior of them, General Gawan, appears to have retired into, I've had discussion with him in recent times, and he's indicated to me like, I'm happy where I am. You guys, good luck to you. I'll pray for you. But that will not be the attitude of President Olusegun Obasanjo, for example. He has his view on every issue. He wants to coach you. He wants to interact with you. So in the elite, you will find many people from the North who have a definition of what the policies should look like. They don't necessarily represent the interest of the North or popularity in the North. When you go to the North, you will be able to navigate your way by yourself. And you will see that there's polarity of opinion from place to place, even within state. I was in Kano for a week, and I had a fantastic reception. I know what the issues are, and people that I'm interacting with there are impressed about my plan for Chilawa Dam, the Tigga Dam, and all those other problems that they have. They really didn't care so much about what the political elite. But the political elite are the people the media know. And if you look at what happened in 1993, you will see that many who considered to be the political elite were opposed to MP Abiola, but he still won the election regardless. So you will see Abiola could not have become president without the enormous vote he got in the North, including a prominent northerner, Bashir Otman Tofa, a true well-respected northerner, lost his polling unit and was in Kano to MP Abiola. Chief Olufalaye, who is one of the leaders now, tending more to be leader of the Yoruba, he used to be a national leader, secretary to government, minister of finance, and all of that. He was able to defeat Serie Adewole in Kano. So, on the political field, Nigerians want to vote for a leader that represents their interests. Even Shigawala in those days used to have a very large following in many parts of the North. So I think that politically, I don't see that happening, that the North will take a position against someone in the South. No. And then secondly, the South, essentially, is just a concept. It's an aspirational concept. Because in the South, even from city to city, I'm from Ondo City, I cannot tell you that my political from what I see here, their political interest is even aligned with that of the Ibadan people or nature people or anything like that. So I think it is a working tool for media analysis to talk of North, South, and all of that. In reality, it doesn't work. And even the way government works, really, you will see that for you to get anything done in government, whether good or bad, you need the consensus of almost everybody. So that's why when you see them charging people to court for corruption, you will see that they represent the whole country. And when people are lamenting and they hijack on a train, you will see that the victims also represent the whole country. So I think that the media should probably re-educate itself and stop limiting their interpretation or interaction with those who are the prestige of that elite class. You know, when I was growing up, there used to be something called Kaduna Mafia. People like Mama Dara, Ango Abdullahi, are the survivors now. And people used to think of Kaduna Mafia, did this and did that. But when Abdullah came, and Abdullah came, and we decided doing the SDP and NROC, all of that disappeared. So I think that people should go out there and get young people. How the people representing me a lot, millions of them, they don't take instruction from anybody. They talk to me and they tell me what the issues are, and I think that's the approach I'm going to use to interact in this politics. Now, with respect to not having one candidate, it can't happen. There's no idea for that. I think what is happening is that many ways by which you can make your argument, and that also takes me to the issue of Southeast. It is legitimate for the sake of saying it that someone from Igbo land, or what we call Southeast of Nigeria, should, as a matter of no ceremony, be able to aspire to the presidency. There should be no glass ceiling or psychological ceiling that someone from the Southeast cannot. After all, Goodluck Jonathan, from a very small state of Bayelsa, not even majority Ijaw and Ogbia, a subset of the population in Bayelsa, became president of Nigeria. So it is possible that we should not worry about that. But that should be your initial argument. If you feel like you are psychologically intimidated about your coming out, that will be your first line. That I'm from the Southeast and I think I'm entitled. But that cannot be all the message you have. You have to now start talking to your compatriots. And for me, if I'm standing on a podium talking with a fellow Nigerian, it doesn't matter which state he comes from. I'm listening to the message he has, and I'm judging whether I'm rightful in competing with this person. Because I believe in justice. If I'm standing on a stage and I'm debating with you, and your ideas are better than mine, your argument is sounder, your logic is stronger, and I see your track record, and I will notice that this person is worthy of this office. So maybe I'm more popular than this person, but this person is worthy of the office. I want to hear arguments from people that come from many parts of the country. Because there are people like Tarok, people like Solomon La, like Dr. Bali, and so many great patriots who have come out of Tarok land. They have not produced a Tarok president, for God's sake. And you can say that of many ethnicities. So, but I believe that as a people, we must conquer the psychological barrier whereby someone says the minority. Right from the time of the Willing Commission for Independence, there has been this argument of people calling themselves minority. I think it's the effect of the Civil War and the displacement of the Igbo super elite that has caused some self-doubt. And I believe that if all of us work together, then we produce Alex Ekweme within 8 years after the war. We were able to produce Alex Ekweme, who was a fantastic vice president. And if that regime had not been truncated, he was a good candidate to make president. I used to have listened to Dr. Efan Ichuku, Alexander Ekweme. You know that you were listening to genius. So I want more Ekweme out of Igbo land. I want more people like that. I want Kakalu. I want so many people. If we had a younger version of Emovo talking to me now, or SP Shukongu, I will say yes. So we need more people like that. It's not just, I don't believe in this conflict where a couple of friends, not necessarily the GSS, governor, senator, minister, they feel you are taking themselves. I say, okay, when is your turn? I will go to the Senate. You hold the governorship for me. Then I will work for. No. I want to see a lot of people who are coming out. And I expect now that even in my hometown, more people will come out. I have cousins who are very good. They should come out. And in the Southeast, we want more to come out. We might be lucky that one who comes out appears to capture the imagination of the country. But talking about having a right to come out, when of course nobody can stop you, is not enough. And I believe that is the case. And I am not also an inheritor of their system of calculating rotation. And my feeling is that after 24 years of coming to civil rule, a president ought to come now from the side of the people. Because up until this moment, we've not had a president from the side of the people. There have been presidents who have come and tried some of their best, but we haven't had a president emerging from the people. We've had an initial president emerging from the military class, trying to resolve the problem within the military class. That was Obasanjo, and everybody in politics had to follow. Then since then, Obasanjo got Adewole, and then Adewole developed to Jonathan, and then the other side of the camp went and gathered together and brought President Buhari. For the first time, let the president emerge from the people. Let him come from his ward, come up, go and do the primaries of his party. Be somebody at the beginning, you say, who is that? When you hear of his name,
We've lost you. I don't know.
when Obama first came out, many people in America could not pronounce his name. But if I listen to his message, because I listened to the constituency speech of Governor Robertson, who was running against Obama, and he said, well, I was listening to Mrs. Clinton, but when I listened to this Barack Obama, I changed my adoption. So we want people who can come out and change minds. Not people believe that they can just inherit because they will queue up behind one leader for some time. No, come out, make your case, talk to the people, change minds, let them question you. I like people to question your readiness, to question your sincerity, to question your qualification. It gives you opportunity to explain yourself. And if we now come out, Nigerians will not be choosing between ideas. They will not be talking about bullion van and other relevant things. They will be talking now in terms of idea. They will not say, who can I take a risk with? Because as Nigerians are today, there isn't anything to lose. We are already going downhill. So what we need is to test new ideas. And I welcome new ideas from people, from my fellow citizens from the Southeast, from many parts of the country. That's my attitude to it.
Very good. Thank you so much. We need to close now, but quite a few people seem to want to ask you some questions here and there. So we just take this last set of questions and then we take your closing comments and then we will close. And then if you come to Lagos at all, you and I should please get to meet. And if you want me to come and enjoy the beauty of your country home in Ondo State, I'll be happy to do so. I'm sure you know that I'm 1/4 Ondo also, or maybe 1/8 Ondo. Anthony, please ask your question after you speak. You look forward to that.
Thank you.
Or if you come to Lagos, let me know.
Yes.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so I was going to follow up on what Pastor Itua was saying about the northern part of the country and the politics of Nigeria. The security situation is really frightening. Frightening in the sense that we seem to now have become a nation of death. And people are getting killed in the volumes, they're getting killed. And the government, I don't know if anyone believes what they're talking about now. We've been hearing about all these lies from the beginning. It was Ruga, it was cattle colony, it was grazing route, it was desertification, it was the Chad Basin and all that. It was Gaddafi, and so on and so forth. All kinds of stories. But after 70 years, it looks like we got a problem here. Now, the question to you is this: what is your take on the security situation as far as the government? They say they're doing their best, but their best is a disaster. It's like the Green Eagles. They did their best, but they're not going to the World Cup. So the bottom line is, what is your take on the situation regarding the security in the country? Do you believe that the government, has a hand in terms of not doing as much as they can do? Because I'm talking to my friends across the country, and the feedback I'm getting is very scary. I'm talking about friends I've known for like 40 years. I spoke to a friend a couple of days ago in Niger State. He said somebody went to the security agencies and told them he knew one of the sponsors of the terrorists and and all that. The DSS locked that guy up for 4 months. I mean, this is somebody I've known for 40 years telling me in confidence. In fact, he couldn't talk on the phone. He was scared to tell me anything on the phone. And I had to analyze to him that, that no one could be listening to what we're discussing right now before he started telling me stuff. So with that, what do you think is going on with the security situation in Nigeria? It's a disaster.
Thank you very much for that question. Stephen, please ask your question. Then we'll take the question from Adewole AdebayoAdebayo, and then we'll begin to wind down.
All right, thanks, Pastor Itua. Quickly, my question is similar to what Mr. Anthony had asked, but mine is more focused on perhaps, sir, you must have heard about the killing of Oshun APC chairman. And when we wonder what's your own perception is with regards to political killing, because this is one of the reasons a lot of people will say that they don't want to get involved in politics because of some of this undertone that goes around in terms of these kinds of murder, where the police or the state's apparatus cannot be applied to find out who the culprits are. So what is your take about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Adewole AdebayoAdebayo, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Itua. So my question is...
We can't hear you. Adewole, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Okay, am I unmuted now? I think we're...
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So my question is simply about re-education. So Prince Adewole, could you just cover this issue? This is a personal concern that I carry, that has bothered me for years with us in Nigeria. How do we address the issue of re-education? Re-education on two fronts, because over time, with all the mismanagement of Nigerian leaders, I believe that we have two major issues. Our history has been corrupted. Number two, we have turned merit-driven society and a merit-driven approach to leadership upside down. And people are passionately convinced that they are correct, that the conspiracy theories they have and that they project is history. This is partly to do with the government's fault for scrapping history, and and also the way in which we have messed up the approach of leadership by merit. I mean, thank you for making reference to Obama. I cannot imagine if Obama campaigned in the United States saying, the United States, we've never had a Black leader, vote for me. That would have been so counterproductive. But he was competent, and we all know where the most competent people are. So we really do not need, this thing just bothers me. Everything seems to be so upside down, and we don't understand that if we can just have focus on being merit-driven and looking at real history, not conspiracy theories, that everything everybody wants will fall into place. So my question is simple. Re-education, how do we change things. People's minds, even highly educated people, have soaked up these conspiracy theories. Some of the passionate speeches people give against the North are bordering on being genocidal. And you're wondering, what happened to you? You know, you're a professor. You know, I mean, how do we address this in top down in terms of conspiracy theories? Because innocent people are hating each other unnecessarily, whereas the people who are causing the havoc are leaders, the elite, or the corrupt elite, not all the elites, obviously. So re-education, how do we address that on the history front and on getting back our merit-driven leadership into place? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agbo. I think there's OFERHR. I think that's architect talk. You've asked a question, or are you asking another one?
OFEA, Organization for Equality and Human Rights.
Okay, yes.
I just want to point out that Nigeria is operating under military 1999 constitution, whereby all the northern elites formulated that constitution, created more states in favor of the North so that they can dominate the National Assembly. So any restructuring program in Nigeria is not going to work. Assuming, Mr. Adebayo, you are elected president by, I don't know how it's going to happen. How are you going to control the army? How are you going to bring about the change that we need in the South? Are you scared of the Yoruba nation now to help the Yoruba nation? After all, the Yoruba did not formulate Nigeria. It was the British who merged Nigeria together. Now that the British has gone, can't we go back to where we were before, like Yoruba nation? Are you scared to be a Yoruba man? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, Adewole Adebayo, I'm grateful to God that those are your questions and not mine. Please answer them as a great Yoruba man. Thank you. Unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Now, let me start from the... Yes, I'm unmuted now, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, if you can hear me, I hope my internet is still working. I've never lived in Yoruba country. I'm an Ondo man who is also in Nigeria. I was born inside Nigeria. I aspire to lead Nigeria. Whatever happens, I intend to die. My bones will be buried in Nigeria. I'm very proud to be a Nigerian. I know my country is a work in progress, and I'm willing to work. Now, people identify me as Yoruba, political identification. But if you take my gene, you will see that I have many components of Nigeria. I'm a descendant, as you will see my biography, of the Oyo King. I'm also a descendant of the Oba of Benin. So, and if you study the history of your people, other people's peoples, you will see that many people who are talking today don't even know their proper identity. But the good thing about is that the issue we are facing are not issues that impact on us depending on our identity. Mr. Akomolafe identified the issue of insecurity. Before him, a gentleman who spoke before Mr. Akomolafe mentioned whether the government is part of the insecurity in the country. When you address all of these issues, there's no ethno-religious analysis we can give that's going to help you. An incompetent government is an incompetent government. A government that is corrupted is a corrupted government. And it is not an ethnic group sitting down somewhere and say, let us be corrupt. It is a case that let me address seriously the first question. What is happening in Nigeria today in terms of security is incompetence plus corruption. First, the security architecture over time was being budgeted for, and the things they were supposed to finance with the budget were not financed with the budget. So even a serious-minded police person who today wants to investigate a homicide does not have a lab nearby to do it. So there is this general neglect that is there. But this neglect now is coupled with people in government turning it into a business. So the insecurity has become a business. And if you see the trajectory of our budgeting for security, it started with low 600 billion thereabout. We are now in 2.4 trillion. Of course, you can account for time value of money, foreign exchange differential, other arbitrage, and all of that. But this is still a substantial growth in warfare spending. And when I do analysis, I do a triangulation, a triangulated analysis of the budget. I take our spending during the Civil War. I take our spending during ECOMOG when we're doing regional stability and all of that in the Gulf of Guinea and in West Africa. And I do our spending now. And I check the configuration of the armed forces, how they work. I realize that for the first time, we are spending money on invisibles. A lot of invisibles. No boots on ground for the money. No platforms on ground for the money. No progress on ground for the money. Now, if you look at the audits, you will see that the audit is not done properly. That even people in the National Assembly are saying they don't know how much we are spending. And then if you go further and see the lifestyle of those who are concerned with security, you will discover that the person who's a lieutenant colonel, he is 10 times richer than a major general who is not involved in this thing. So you look all of this together, you know that there are some sensitive aspects that I don't want to talk about, not out of fear, but out of the respect for the office I'm going, and out of the strategy I need to deal with it. But narrow it down to two things. Generally, there's incompetence. The same way you come out of your house and the gutter is not clean, water does not run. You go to a police station to report a crime and they're not responding. That same thing that is affecting ASU, closing the university of strike, and all of that. Those simple things that are easier to do than security are not being done. So how can people who cannot keep universities open, who cannot run essential services, who cannot run mail delivery? The government cannot run mail delivery, for God's sake. How do you think they will be able to wait and succeed in a war? That's for incompetence. Second is pollution. And this pollution is at two levels. There's pollution below, where you send people with equipment and gadgets and some money to go and pursue criminals. They divert it and say, well, you are at the top. Even the gun you gave to me, you bought it at inflated prices. Many of the platforms you are spending trillion on does not impact on my welfare. My colleague living next to me, who died last week, his family is already been sent out to the barracks. So why should I go and die? And things like that. So then at the top, you have contractors. Just study what is happening at the level of the Ministry of Defense, NSA's office, and all the services. You will see that even people below in the services, what do they pray for? They pray for the early retirement of those above them. Those who are above them, what do they pray for? Elongation of service. So if they can elongate their service, they will elongate the war as well. So that's what, as Commander-in-Chief, I need to deal with. Now, dealing with the issue of history, and it's a general malaise, not only to us, it's a global problem. I read in the memoir of Tony Blair, when it was 1997, he had just been Prime Minister of the UK, and he was going to China to go and hand over Hong Kong. And he said that until he got to China, he did not know the history of Hong Kong. And when he met with the Chinese authorities, and they were talking about Hong Kong. It was looking like, oh, what? So this is more important than I thought. So younger generations in many countries don't know as much of their history, but it is chronic here in Nigeria. And what's making cancerous here is that
Mr. Adewole Adebayo, you
yes,
don't
sir.
understand my question. I think you should just cut it short. Forget it. You don't understand my question.
I will come back to your question, sir. I'm just taking 3 questions together. Please be patient with me. You will see that I will answer your question. Right now, I'm talking in terms of the question of our history raised by Mr. Komolafe. Sorry if the structure of the answer does not suit you, but you'll get the answer at the end. What I'm saying is that people make up for their historical deficiency. They make up for their historical deficiency by making up facts of their own. So, and these are the problems that lead to misunderstanding. Now, dealing with the issue of North, because you're asking the question, how will I control the army? Am I afraid of the North and Oduduwa Republic and all the rest of it? As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I will control the army very effectively. And the army, as it is represented today, is the army of Nigeria. Remember, when we started this Boko Haram thing, we had Ihejirika as chief of army. He's from one part of the country. We were not able to solve the problem. It was in that process that people like General Shuwan were killed. At that time, churches were being bombed and all of that. Then after that, this government came. Even before then, Ihejirika was removed, another person was put there. After that, this person came with Burote. After that, it is not an ethnic thing. It is a problem of lack of patriotism on the part of those who are responsible. And I have given speeches where I say that the cannibalistic capitalism that we practice in Nigeria, where every problem you have is a business plan of somebody. And when somebody is making, whether it's fuel scarcity, whether it's closing of industries, whether it's custom harassing traders, putting 300 stops between Apapa and Onitsha, all of these things, because someone is making money out of it and perpetuating the sorrow. It is not an ethnic thing. Now, dealing with the North, I understand the North very well, and I understand the concerns of the people of the North. And it mirrors the concern of the people that I know in any part of the country. In the North, you have a lot of neglect. You have a smaller elite than a tinier middle class. And you have a lot of people without anyone catering to them. Now, if you don't go to the North and interact with the people according to their needs, and realize that somebody who's in Chibok cannot be bombing himself in order to validate the regional supremacy, that people in Kaduna will not be bombed on a train in order to validate regional supremacy, that people are not running away from their houses in Safara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Borno, Adamawa. I have a staff of mine now who have to leave and go home in Adamawa because a very important member of his family has been kidnapped. I needed to go there and give support to the family and make contribution. These people cannot be hurting themselves all across just because they want to dominate someone on another part. And the issue of a constitution, I have spoken to almost everybody who was involved in passing 1999 constitution. I speak to General Salami Abubakar about it. My good friend, a late friend, Mike Ahigwe, who was chairman of many of the sessions. Every part of Nigeria produced professors and other people who came together for the 1999 constitution. And as a constitutional lawyer myself, I will tell you that if you can take 1979 constitution, on which Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe ran, on which Awolowo ran, Aminu Kano, my leader, ran, in which Waziri, Politics Without Bitterness, ran, in which Tunji Braithwaite of NAP ran. That constitution of 1979, what is the difference between that one and that of 1999? If you can show me the difference, I will start listening to you about the difference. But those people at that time went to the 77 Constitutional Assembly, and all of them agreed on that constitution. And listened to Awolowo's speeches throughout his campaign in 78, 79, 82, 83. He never campaigned against the 1979 constitution. He liked it. And he was part of those who operated the 60 Constitution and 63 Constitution. But Awolowo preferred this Constitution of 1979. And 79 Constitution, we had 89, which didn't stay long. We have 1999. And the idea that some part of the country used 1999 Constitution to create more states for one part of the country, with due respect, is not correct, because the last states were created under Abacha. After that, Absalami, who promulgated the Constitution, did not create a new state. So I think that since 1999, we have done 4 amendments to this Constitution. What does it tell you? It tells you that if the Nigerian political elite want to amend this Constitution, they can always amend it. But where do they amend? They amend things that have to do with tenure. If you die, who will take over? Who will stay longer? If you want to run an election, how quickly can you finish the election petition? If I'm running for office, will I resign or not resign? The things that have to do with them, things that have to do with the people, they are not amending. So what stops us now from voting different set of people to the National Assembly who will do 3 amendments, not amendment of elite self-perpetuation, but amendment for efficiency, to bring more cohesion to the country and to make the Constitution more efficient. I have some disagreement with the Constitution, but not because of who was head of state at the time it was promulgated. I have some problem with it because of the legislative list. There is no efficiency in the legislative list, because some of the things that can best be done at the local level are being put in federal lists, and the government is not efficient at that level to deal with them. In fact, if you were to take my view, the largest list in the Constitution will be concurrent, where whoever can do it better goes to do it. And I don't want to go esoteric, but there's an aspect in law called covering the field. If you give the same power to the federal government and the states, the doctrine of covering the field will allow the federal government to intervene where the states overdo or misguide themselves. So I think that we should not interpret our problem from a regional point of view. I believe that we had a number of years under Obasanjo. He was not from the north, and I don't see any difference in what he did in terms of the structure of the country or anything like that. We had another 5 years or so under a minority of minority, President Goodluck Jonathan from Bayelsa. His government wasn't too different from the one before it. So I think that now, 7, 8 years ago, it was the argument I'm having now, or debate or discussion, I used to have with my brothers from the north, who thought that it was where President Jonathan came from that was the problem, and they needed to put someone from their zip code. And I said, no, incompetence has no postcode. A person is either competent or not competent. Patriotism or lack of it is not regional. A person is either a patriot or is not. And how long you stay in government is not important. And your age is also not important. So Murtala spent 6 months and we are still mentioning his name. So I believe that we should just go away from the luxury of regional analysis and go into generational, intergenerational analysis. Bring new arguments. The arguments going on now in Nigeria some of them are valid, but they are not the only arguments that can be canvassed to address Nigeria's problem. You can go to Onitsha by road. You can also fly to Asaba by air and drive to Onitsha. You can go by River Niger and land in Asaba and Onitsha as well. So it's not that we must come in this generation, inherit all their fears, inherit their prejudices, inherit their arguments, no. I have uncles of mine who will argue that they lost their job, that will have been made permanent secretary. One person from one place took it from me. I'm not going to inherit that, because the people of my generation, all over the world, as I meet them from all parts of the country, we're having the same problem. We're having the same, we are jealous of the guy who is ruling Canada. I don't want to be a nobody in my country. I want to be better than Dubai. I want to do things that I have the talent to do. But you can inherit the argument of your father and grandfather about things. My grandmother was not a Nigerian, and she was not even a Yoruba person. Although people never accepted that they were Yoruba, they always say, Yoruba people, those Yoruba people. So, but now, almost everybody says they're Yoruba. A time is coming in this country where if you say you're outside, they'll say, what does that mean? Every Nigerian will come together and they won't care. And people don't balance their analysis. In America, you have German immigrants, Irish immigrants, Norwegian, French, British, English, Irish, all over. America, do they analyze their problem according to Irish origin or anything? No. If you go to a place like Minnesota, you will see that they are originally Norwegians. If you go to New England, they were English people. Go to Louisiana, they were French. If you go to Mexico, Texas, you see that they came from New Mexico and Texas. They came from Mexico. Are you saying that you want to create, are they in America, are they trying to create Irish state? The Irish suffer a lot. When they came for almost 100 and something years, nobody wanted to give them a chance in the world. That's why they rejoiced mightily when they produced J.F. Kennedy as president. He was the first Catholic and first Irish. But now it's no news. When the blacks produced Obama, it is but now nobody is jumping all over the place about Kamala Harris. It become normal. Just let us be patient. Let us have good government. You will produce enough Igbos in this country as president. You produce enough Hausa, Fulani, Koteb. You produce enough over time. But let us make sure that wherever that president comes from, there is efficiency, there is patriotism. What are we suffering from? I have never suffered from where the person comes from. I've suffered from they're stealing my money, stealing my future. Running a government that risked my life. I cannot land at an airport because they are not maintaining it well. I cannot go to the hospital. As I'm talking to you now, if anything happens to me, I'm gasping for breath. You have to just tell the pastor to pray for me. That's the end. There's nobody nearby who is going to come and help me. How does an ethnic analysis solve that problem? I go around the country. I've been to every of the 774 local governments. I've been to the homes of prominent people, and I asked them that question. Sir, no, I don't want to be rude. I know I'm looking for presidency. I don't want to be. How could you have been in government all this number of years? And I had to struggle to come to your house. What happened? And I asked this question uniformly across. And some are sober. They say, young man, you will see. This is the problem. Some will say, I signed the contract, they didn't do it. But everywhere you go, there's neglect. So how can a victim victimize his own co-victim elsewhere? It doesn't make any sense. So I think that we should understand that I, personally, I have the courage, if I see that regionalism is going to work, I will have said it will work. But I argue with my uncles all the time. I have my uncles who serve in the Western region. My family produced too many of the civil servants and top leaders. And I ask them the question, why are you looking back to the regions? It's simple. When they were under the regions, they had good schools, they had good hospitals, they had all those things because the leaders were honest. So they assumed that it was the region per se, regionalization per se, that made this thing to work. And I keep telling them, no, if you had made Balewa executive president, not prime minister, he will still be Balewa, the man who would not steal money, who was honest, who would not go on holiday abroad, who would go back to Bauchi in his farm, Balewa, and sit down there. If you make Adewole governor, not a premier, as he was, he will still be an efficient person who run a good school system. Same thing with Amadu Bello. Look at Opara. If you call Opara a governor, he will be same Opara. He will still build the other farm that he built. He will still build all those schools that he built. He will still build Port Harcourt, the modern city. So what are we having now? So it is not the region, it is the character and the quality of people that we are putting in governance. So before you say this system doesn't work, try and elect honest people first. But I go around, people ask me questions. Do you have money? Can you give us money? And all of that. So whether it's region or not, if you're asking for money, the government will collapse. If I go and campaign, you want me to donate money because somebody went to one state and donated a huge amount of money. You want me to also rob a bank and go and donate money. If you go along that line, it doesn't matter what you style me. Call me governor, the person will still be a thief. Call him president, will still be a thief. So I think you may disagree with me, which is normal, but my understanding and my perspective of leadership is that we lack character. And because we lack character and we lack integrity, we are not able to execute faithfully our duties in office. And our leaders have some pediatric arrest, which allows them to love things like toys. They still want houses, cars, housing. So this is the only country on the face of the earth where a person rule you for 8 years at the top level as vice president and immediately carry his family and went to live abroad. Left you in darkness, but enjoying the services of his colleagues elsewhere. Went to Dubai to live. And people from Nigeria will fly to Dubai where they have electricity, good train, good everything to discuss how they will talk about government in Nigeria. But you were here. Nobody leaves their country once you are a leader, unless the country is at war or you are a criminal wanted there and you run for asylum. So it is this lack of quality that we need to address. And it is not only for presidents. The councillor in my ward here, every day I give him pep talk. He cannot account for the money for this ward 9, where I live here. And he's just a councillor. So even if you carve a Republic of Ondo, this councillor will still be here. The governor of my state went to the University of Ife to study law. His father was just a clergyman, nothing more. He had no money. He lived in a good hostel. They will lay his bed. They will give him accommodation. They will give him food. They will give everything. He will have friends. They will invite them to the canteen. They will give the friends food. They will change his food money. They will do everything. They gave him money. During summer break, he will travel abroad and come back. But he's running a system now where he hasn't paid salaries since December last year. And is asking civil servants to put their children in state-owned schools and pay 1.4 million. So are you saying that if you carve out a region, such a person will have a change of mind? No. Even within the region that we had, when we were to transit from Awolowo to Akintola, people had differences. Even the region had not changed. So people saw the difference between the quality of the leader and the one taking over after. I think that if we don't change our character, because Nigerians will have a tendency to blame the car when we have an accident. The same car which you will drive in Germany and Europe and America for this number of years will have a crash. Then they will tell you, Mercedes is too fast. Why did you buy BMW for your son? That's what I can kill. But it is not BMW that kills. Your son does not follow road safety regulation, does not drive, all of that. So I think we need to understand that show me a president who has been faithful to his oath of office, who has defended the republic against enemies, foreign and domestic, who has refrained and restrained himself from trying to get richer in office or try to make his friends richer. And he says to you, I am trying to do all these things, but the Constitution does not allow me. How does, if every person who holds a public office lives true to the oath of office, how would the Constitution stop you? If you are Minister of Finance, how does the present Constitution stop you from being an honest Minister of Finance? If you are a police commissioner, how does this Constitution stop you from running after thieves in defense of citizens, instead of locking up the citizen in defense of the thief? How is it constitutional? So with due respect, we can amend the Constitution. And you can say your group or one group, you do not want to stay in one country or the other. The Irish, the Scottish, they've been debating about their autonomy over the years. But water still runs. Schools are open. So I'm not saying that any component of Nigeria should not come out and say, we want more autonomy for ourselves. You can do so. But please be honest with the power that you have now. When I was growing up, I was familiar with the leaders of my part of the country. And they used to reminisce about the past. Because at that time, somebody could sit in Lagos, later Abuja, and send a military administrator to you to govern you. You had no control over it. You just send your military administrator, go and govern them. So you can say we are not able to develop because they send the wrong person to us. But since 1999, every governor of Ondo State has been an Ondo man. Every governor of Edo has been an Edo man. Every governor of River has been a Rivers man. Same thing for Sokoto. What's the difference? The way the governor of your state is spending money now in my state, that was not how Ajasin will have spent the money of the people. He lived an honest life. He was not using money to sponsor his spouse to go and contest election somewhere else. He never left the house where he never left the house where he was as a teacher at Imade College, never bought a new car, never bought a new dress. When Shagari went to State House in Lagos, he never bought a new dress. The only thing Shagari bought was Benson and Hedges. That's the only thing he will be buying, nothing more. So now, are you now telling me that the way the leaders of rivers, people like Dete speak, the way they spend rivers money is the way the incumbents is spending it now, using the money to sponsor election in Zamfara, to remove a chairman of party, spend millions of dollars for that, and intervene everywhere. So let us go back and get accountability at lower levels. And then we can debate the constitutional structure of our country. It's something we will debate. Later, our children may come and even change the name of the country. And say, don't call it Nigeria anymore. Ghana changed themselves from Gold Coast to Ghana. You can do whatever you like. It's your country. You are free people. That's why we go independence. But what is important is that you must understand that agency is government. You must produce a set of leaders who can take custody of public assets, use public powers, and have public resources in the interest of people who are not there. When you are in the villa or you are in a government house, anywhere, the people you are representing are not those who come to see you there. The people you are representing are those who are not there. Who, when you are having a baby and the baby is being taken to hospital, your wife is being taken to the hospital, the person who built the hospital and put the beds there never knew that you were going to get married, never knew that you will have a baby. But they prepare for you. They didn't see you. They don't know you. So that agency is what we need. You must be able to pave road for people you have never met before. Ensure the life of people who have not been born. And staff yourself for the sake of children yet to be born. Look at Norway. They have oil like us. And they pretend as if they don't have oil. They said, this generation will work. We will create a legacy fund where we put this money because the environment from which we are drilling this oil, when the next generation comes, they will suffer the effect of it. How can we spend all the money without leaving some for them? I will never know what tomorrow will be. So that's what we need to do. And until we do that, you can call yourself whatever you call yourself, but the same reason why people steal money of town union, people steal money of churches, mosques, communities, any school, PTA. Remember in America, public service starts from the school board. People want to serve on their school board. I lived in America for many years and I have children in public school. The first thing we do is you want to serve on the school board. You want to hire the teacher teaching your children. You want to see the school budget. Now, are we able to do that? If you're not able to do that, how can you cannot run a school. Recently, my alma mater, I gave money to my alma mater, the school principal stole the money. So what are you telling me? So if that person became a commissioner for education or minister, what will he do? He will do worse. So I am not saying that the arguments of other people are not valid, but I'm saying that it does not address why Nigeria is where it is. What I would suggest to my compatriots is that we have forgotten character. We even want our country to be a rich country. We want our family to be a rich family. We ourselves want to be rich, but we never want our country to be a just country. We don't want our family to be just. We ourselves don't want to be just. But a just country can, with little money, produce the best standard of living for its people. But The richest country in the world, when it has injustice, there will be fire, there will be riots. America was the richest country and most powerful country in the world, but they were unjust to the minorities in their country. That's what produced Martin Luther King. That's what produced all of the crises that they had. Many presidents, including JF Kennedy, including Johnson, including Nixon, all of those periods was a turbulent period in American history because of that injustice. So it doesn't matter whether we start flying rockets to the moon tomorrow in Nigeria. If we don't have honest leaders, we don't have a sense of justice, the country will fall down. So let us address that. Look for an honest person to rule your country. You yourself, in engagement with that person, be honest. And then forget where the person comes from. I've met the worst sort of people from inside my hometown and my family. And I've met the best sort of people in many parts of the world, the country and many parts of the world. So there is no ethnicity that makes a person a bad person. And there's no ethnicity that makes a person a good person. What we need to understand is that in Nigeria, the purpose of money, purpose of education, purpose of opportunity, purpose of how to become Oga. You remember that our educational system produces Ogas. Lastly, there's an uncle of mine who's a medical doctor. I used to argue with him. His father had so many children. He was the 13th child of his father. I never sent him to school, but the public sent him to school. Eventually, he went to England, became one of the best doctors in Nigeria. He set up a very big hospital, enjoying himself. Then his friend, who went from Pakistan, they were not giving them all that Nigeria was giving to them. Pakistan was not giving to his doctors. When he came to my uncle came back to Nigeria, he went to ABUTH, Zaria. They gave me a car. The day he arrived, he gave me a quarter. His colleague in Australia, in Pakistan, was given a bicycle. I was posted to a remote village. And until his colleague died, he was a government worker, no money. My uncle used to send him money. And I told him, you see, you were sent abroad the same time with your friend. You came back to enrich yourself. You became Oga. Whereas that person went back to serve his country. Until we all stop being Oga and we want to come and serve our country, we will not have a country. And you can divide yourself into 15. Each section has enough tips to follow you to where you are going and when you there. But we may as well stay here and gather ourselves together and try to deal with the issue. But if we are serious, God is a just God. We cannot pray to him with lies. If we are just and we are pure in our heart, he will answer us. If we are crying crocodile tears and we are also part of the problem, God cannot be fooled. Another generation will come and make the country great. The country you say is not great today. Another generation will come and make it great. So we should pray to God to be the lucky one who will come and make the country great in our time. But none of us can use our bad mind, our bad character to ruin Nigeria, because God has a destiny for the country. We only cheat ourselves out. So that's all. We'll die in wilderness. Those Israelites that God took out of Egypt, who thought they were fooling God, all of them died on the way, 40 years in the wilderness. Another generation took over, but God's purpose was achieved. So if they were obedient and honest, they would have done 40 days and got to promised land. But they could not defeat the purpose of God. So if we think we are clever, we are smart, we can make arguments, we can fight, we will all perish here. And that generation will come and the country will be great. And I want us to be that generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've done well. God bless you. We have far exceeded our time. I look forward to engagement with you further. I think the challenge of ethnicity is there. We cannot rule it out because an honest man, but a man with a bias, a man with a ethnic nepotism, even though he's honest, will also cause a bit of confusion here and there.
That's correct. But it won't be just.
It won't be just. He will be honest. Sure. He'll be truthful. He won't steal money, but he won't be just. He has an.
And if it's not just, it won't be representing God and will not be a leader.
Yes. So we need to find honest, just fair Nigerian thinking leaders and not just honest but ethnic thinking. Thank you very much. We've enjoyed the session. The comments have been very good. AdebayoAdebayo is clapping for you all over the place. We wish you very well in your endeavors, and we will engage and take it from there. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Let me thank you all. Thanks for your time, and I appreciate it. I look forward to further engagement.
All right. Good night. Regards
Thank
to the
you.
family. And greet
And
the
yours,
good. Thank
I
you.
will let them know, sir. Thank you.
All right then. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you very much for coming. We'll be here same time next week. By God's grace, wanting to take this up. Some people
See you
wanted
all
to
on Saturday.
Okay.
See you all on Saturday. Prince Adewole will be addressing you on security.
Oh no. These people wanted
See
to
you
do
all on Saturday.
Thank you. I look forward to Saturday to address security. Thank you.
We're addressing security, national security on Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pastor.
Happy
Thank
Easter,
you.
Happy
Bless
Easter.
you. Easter.
Yes, thank you very much. Adewole Adebayo, thank you again. Great.
Thank you.
Venerable, thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you. My leadership.
Let me invite you all.
Thank you, Pastor, and happy Easter.
Adewole, happy Easter.
Thank you,
God
bless
you all.
Happy Easter, Pastor. God bless you. Doing a wonderful job.
Anthony,
Thank you.
happy Easter. Prof.
Right there.
Happy
Easter in advance.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a nice one. Pastor Itua, happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Pastor.
Happy Easter.
Thank you.
Happy Shakes. Happy Easter. God bless you. God bless you. Alex and Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Pastor.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
This is Olugo. Thank you for great to see you, sir. Happy Easter. Olayemi Oguni, happy Easter. God bless you. Yunus Atanko,
God bless you, Pastor Itua. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you, Pastor.
God bless you, sir. God bless you, Pastor.
God bless you all. Happy Easter.